Hello there and welcome. My name is Dan and I'm one of the co-founders of Orca. I'm excited to give you a product tour today, but first I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about social selling. Just a little bit about me. I've spent my entire career building and scaling startups. I was previously the head of sales at Bannerman, a YC company that did on-demand security for offices, and I was responsible for growing the company from zero to about 1.2 million ARR in just 8 months. Some of my big wins include Dollar Shave Club and Tencent. I ended up expanding the company from San Francisco into 4 other markets to include LA, New York, Seattle, and Portland before taking my leave to travel the world with some of my good friends. After my travels, I ended up moving to Seattle up in the Great Pacific Northwest where I joined another startup, Keep, fresh out of Techstars, and took them from 20 to 90K MRR in just 4 months. I ended up leaving the team at the 5-month mark but stayed on as their growth advisor to work on Orca full time. And that brings us here to today. We're backed by an amazing team of growth legends like Yvonne Kerrigan, who was one of the key players behind Dropbox's referral engine, Josh Vector, who most of y'all should already know. If not, I highly recommend checking out his group, Badass Marketers and Founders. It's an amazing resource for anybody that's in the growth space or thinking about getting into growth. We also have Aaron Stein from DigitalOcean, Gustav from Airbnb, and probably one of the best content strategists I know, Art from Your Mechanic. All right, let's go ahead and get started and talk about social selling. What is it? Social selling is the process of developing relationships as part of the sales process. It is the art of connecting with, engaging with, and nurturing leads through different social channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Medium, AngelList, etc. The primary objective here is to create sales opportunities through relationships built on these channels. Unlike traditional tactics like cold emails and calls, social tactics feel less cold for the recipient. Psychologically, these channels are seen more as public-facing, whereas emails, even if it is a work email or your phone, are seen more as personal. That's why cold emails are cold. It's unsolicited. The fact is, I don't think I know anyone that likes getting hit up with unexpected emails or calls from people they just don't know. On the social channels, however, it's a bit different. These platforms are designed to encourage interactions between its users. For example, it's perfectly okay for me to like or comment on a post made by somebody that's outside of my network. It's also normal for me to follow influencers on Instagram that I have no relationship with or retweet tweets. The psychology is just different, so the approach itself is different. Social engagements are naturally perceived as being much more warmer than emails or calls. That is if you do it right, because you can do it in a very, very spammy way. Now, I'm not saying that email is dead. I just think that it's being implemented in the wrong way and it's ineffective. One of the key rules that I like to follow when running outbound lead gen tactics is to always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This goes for any type of interaction, whether it's on a personal level or professional level, whether it's online or offline. The thing about sales is that it's about relationship building. You don't want to start off a relationship on a bad note by spamming the recipient with cold, unsolicited emails or random calls and texts. Not cool. Even the sales guys who are sending out cold emails don't like receiving cold emails. Why? Because it's disruptive. That said, it doesn't make sense to employ these types of tactics to get noticed by somebody you intend on building a relationship with. Every growth tactic has some kind of shelf life, and email and cold calling is no exception. Now, we think there's a big shift happening now in sales. Some of you guys are going to realize it sooner than others, but it is happening. And what's happening is that we're going back to the basics. It's all about building relationships. And what better than to do it on the social channels designed to encourage and facilitate these types of interaction? You're probably here because you've experienced the decline of your email outreach. Open rates and response rates are not as high as they used to be. And don't be fooled by the email sales gurus out there who are just like, oh man, it's your copy. Sure, yeah, maybe your copy can be improved better. Maybe your subject lines can be a little bit more catchy. But that's not it, you know? Google and other email service providers are simply getting better and better at detecting marketing or automated emails, meaning deliverability is dropping. Most of your outreach efforts are ending up in the spam folder. Last year alone, there was 15% drop in deliverability. I don't know what it is for this year, but it might be a little bit higher. Not only that, but people are sick and tired of those spammy sales emails. It's gotten way out of hand, follow ups after follow ups after follow ups. So, what do? We adapt. And as a society, we've adapted to ignore sales emails. And that brings me to social selling on LinkedIn. Now, I'm not going to spend much time talking, or I'm not going to spend any time talking about the other channels like Facebook, Twitter, Medium, AngelList, and a whole bunch of others out there, simply because, Orca, we're simply focused on LinkedIn at the moment. Now, we do plan on building out automation for those other channels, but for now, we're just going to focus on LinkedIn. So why does social selling or selling on LinkedIn work? Well, all of these platforms are designed very, very similar to one another. They're designed to hook you, bring you back into the platform, and keep you there. Because when you're in the platform, you're generating data for Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter that they can use. They do this through notifications, for example. Whenever a person visits your profile on LinkedIn, connects with you, follows you, likes or comments on your posts, endorses you, you're going to get a notification. Whether that's a push notification to your phone or when you log into your app or via email, if you haven't turned that off yet. And these questions that you have might even drive you to visit their profile. In social selling, we call this the look back. And this is exactly what Orca does and why it works. Orca helps you automate and sequence these engagements or touches, whatever you want to call it, on LinkedIn that trigger notifications that then trigger lookbacks that help you get noticed by the prospect you want to reach faster. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this right now, but it's super important that you guys treat your public-facing profiles, in this case we're talking about LinkedIn, so your LinkedIn profile page as if it were a landing page where you can capture your leads or your prospects' attention and funnel them into your sales pipeline. And that's basically the science behind Orca. It's really just behavioral psychology. So we built Orca as an enterprise solution for B2B sales teams that want to take their outbound lead gen process beyond just cold email and call tactics. That said, Orca integrates seamlessly into your existing stack, so CRMs, email prospecting tools, lead generation tools, what have you. Now, there's still a lot of stuff that we need to build out and a lot of tools that we need to integrate with, but our intent is to build a platform where the things happening on the social channels are the things that are also triggering the sales cadences. And it makes sense because that's where your audience is. They're all congregating on these different social platforms. That's where their attention is. And that's the only place where you're going to be able to grab their attention. Across the board, inside sales teams that are using our platform are seeing about a 30 to 40% connect rate, as opposed to emails to the 5% response rate. And keep in mind that this is just on LinkedIn. Imagine what you can do once we start throwing Facebook, Twitter, AngelList, Medium into the mix. Social selling is very different from email. With email or cold calling, you're going to have to engage thousands of prospects just to get a few responses. Most of them will probably respond asking you to remove them from your list. Social is different. You're going to send out, let's say, 100 connects, for example, but you're most likely going to get around 20 to 30 conversations started. That's a lot of conversations to handle. And this is where the paradigm shift happens. Social selling is about relationship building. It's not about templatize this and that. This is where true sales executives can do what they were born to do. Building relationships by providing value, by listening to the problems that the prospect or lead has. Social selling is not about quantity like it is for email. It's really about quality. And quality is what makes all the difference. Okay. Enough said about that. Let's go ahead and move on to the demo. Orca is a desktop app. So when you sign up for the 7-day free trial, you'll first need to download and install the application. We're currently available for Macs and Windows. After you install Orca, load it up and you'll find it running up in the status menu if you're on a Mac, or tray menu if you're on Windows. Now, if this is your first time using Orca, you'll need to log in and set up your account. It's a very straightforward process, so I'm not going to go through that here, but if you have any issues, just hit us up on Intercom and we'll help you get started. The desktop app needs to be on in order for your campaigns to work. Essentially, what the app is doing is it's logging into your LinkedIn as you and performing the actions you tell it to perform. The app is divided into two sections, a status section and an activity section. The status section displays your account's status, while the activity section displays a list of actions that have been completed by Orca. Under the settings icon, you can pause the automation, log out, or quit the app. Oh, and you can also use LinkedIn while Orca is running automation. So that pretty much does it for the desktop app. Let's move on to your dashboard. Okay, so this is your campaign dashboard. There are three main sections: your active campaigns, drafts, and archive campaigns. You can pause and play campaigns with this button here, and you can also check out the details of a campaign by clicking on the Details button. You can click on the Show More button, as indicated by the three dots, to view options to edit a sequence, duplicate a campaign. This is if you want to keep the sequence the same but target a different audience, archive a campaign, or move campaigns from one account to another. You can currently create 5 different types of social selling campaigns in Orca. There's a search on LinkedIn campaign where you can set the search criteria for your ideal segment, and Orca will go out and source those leads for you from LinkedIn. There's also the CSV upload and Zapier campaign where you can pass leads from Google Sheets, Typeform, HubSpot, pretty much any app that's connected with Zapier, and pass them into a social selling sequence in Orca. We also have direct integrations with lead generation tools like GrowLabs and Easy Leads, where you can build your lead lists and pass those leads into a campaign that runs in parallel before or after your email sequences. For this demonstration, I'm going to set up a search on LinkedIn campaign. If you need any help setting up any of the other campaigns, just hit us up on Intercom and we'll be happy to guide you through the process. The first step for any campaign is to identify your target audience. For the search on LinkedIn campaign, I'll be using advanced Booleans to set up my keywords to target my audience. I'll be targeting sales development and sales operation managers for this particular demonstration. You can use Booleans such as and, or, and not to refine your search. If you plan on using Booleans, make sure they're all in caps. Here's the search query I'll be using. If you want to search for an exact phrase, make sure you enclose the phrase within quotation marks. You can also group terms together using parentheses. We can also use filters to set up your connection type, second and third, industries, locations, and if you have an account-based approach where you're targeting specific companies, you can use the current company filter to set the campaign to target only the companies you want to engage. Once you've set the filters, preview the audience by clicking here. Once you've set up your audience, head on over to the next step where we will set up your sequence. There are currently 3 different types of touches or engagements. You can visit profiles, send invitations to connect, and you can also follow up with a message when a request has been accepted. I typically like to start off my engagements with profile views, so that's what I'll do here. I think it's a good practice to warm up your leads with a simple view, giving them a day or so before sending over a connect request. You can also set your delays to hours and minutes, but I'll keep mine to a day. You can personalize your messages by inserting snippets like first name and last name. The most important thing to keep in mind here is to keep your messages short. This isn't email prospecting, so you're not pitching or trying to sell your service or product right off the bat here. The goal here is to establish a connection, strike up a non-sales conversation, and develop a relationship over time. You can also toggle the option to follow up with a message after your request has been accepted. Again, don't use this engagement as a way to pitch your product or service. You haven't built the rapport to start selling yet. Last but not least, you can toggle on or off the option to proceed to the next step if a lead accepts your request. This will become more relevant when we integrate with email prospecting tools. For now, I'll toggle this option on and view the profile 2 more times after we've connected. When you're done setting up your sequence, head on over to the last step where you can name and review your campaign. When everything looks good to go, hit the Publish button to activate the campaign. For search on LinkedIn campaigns, Orca will be logging into your LinkedIn, and this can take anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour after you publish, but it will log in as you in a hidden browser, source leads based on your search criteria, and deliver those leads back into your dashboard where you can approve which leads are sent into your sequence. For the other campaign types, where you are passing leads into Orca, leads will be by default in pending verification status, during which Orca will verify the URL being passed, and once verified, approved leads will be pushed into a sequence. If you are an owner or a manager of a team, you can review stats on members from your organization under Team Stats. Under Preferences, you can create organizations and invite team members under your org. You can also update your subscription and download invoices under billing. And under automation settings, you can set your automation schedule, which I highly recommend doing. If this is your first time running automation on LinkedIn, set your schedule to run 2 to 3 hours a day for the first 3 to 4 weeks, then slowly ramp up the hours over a 2 to 3 month period. Also, make sure you enter your LinkedIn login credentials here. Otherwise, Orca won't be able to log into your LinkedIn as you to run the automation. Last but not least, you can find your API key under integrations. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's Orca. That's how you get started with selling on LinkedIn. If you have any additional questions while you're setting up your account or creating campaigns, simply hit us up on Intercom and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks and have a good one.